Hello. If everyone can please turn off their cell phones, silence their cell phones, out of respect for the family. Thank you very much.
Sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was grace, how sweet the sound, was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
Why do I feel discouraged? Why do the shadows come? And why does my heart feel lonely in love for heaven and home? So I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free. Yeah, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches, and I know he watches. And I know he watches me.
Near, my God, to thee, near to thee, e'en though it be a cross that raiseth me. Still all my song shall be near, my God, to thee, near, my God, to
must a man walk down before they call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
You fill up my senses like a night in a forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain. Come, let me love you. Come, love me again. My senses like a night in a forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again.
You tell me it gets better in time. You say to pull myself together, pull it together, you'll be fine. Tell me what the hell do you know, what do you know? Tell me how the hell could you know, how could you know? Till it happens to you, you don't know how it feels, how it feels. Till it happens to you, you won't know, it won't be real. No, it won't be real. Won't know how it feels. Tell me, hold your head up and be strong. 'Cause when you fall, you gotta get up, you gotta get up and move on. Tell me, how the hell can you talk? How can you talk? 'Cause until you walk where I walk, it's just all talk. Till it happens to you, you don't know how it feels. How it feels. Till it happens to you, you won't know. It won't be real. No, it won't be real. Won't know how I feel. Till your world burns and crashes. Till you're at the end of your road. Till you're standing in my shoes. I don't wanna hear nothing from you, from you, from you. 'Cause you don't know. Till it happens to you, you don't know how I feel. How I feel. How I feel. Till it happens to you, you won't know. It won't be real. No, it won't be real. Won't know how it feels. Till it happens to you, happens to you, happens to you. Happens to you, happens to you, happens to you. Till it happens to you, you all know how I feel.
Color guard, attention. May the audience please rise for the presentation of the colors. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, prepare to post the colors. Post the colors. Group salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to this flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard dismiss. Audience, you may be seated.
Good morning. My name is Larry Hayes, and I was very, very blessed to be Braxton's first Scoutmaster when he joined Carmel Valley Troop 127 at the age of 11 years old. I came to know him very well through weekly meetings, camping trips, backpacking, hiking, whitewater rafting, service projects, merit badges, and assisting him on his trail to first class as well as his trail to Eagle. 3 other men were also fortunate to be Braxton Scoutmasters on his trail to Eagle: Don Cheney, Phil DeCoco, and current Scoutmaster Ken Ferguson, and you'll be seeing them later. Over the next 6 years after joining Scouts, Braxton accomplished what 96% of Scouts do not accomplish, attaining the highest rank of Eagle Scout. Braxton excelled at Scouting, completing 24 merit badges, including citizenship in the community, citizenship in the nation, and citizenship in the world, family life, and personal management, attending 5 summer camps, attending White Stag Leadership Academy 3 times, and the last time as a staff leader chosen by the group there to help them lead the other candidates. Helping other Scouts complete 11 community service projects, not including his own Life Project and Eagle Project. His Eagle Project was a landscaping project in the garden area of Stevenson Lower School. He successfully led a group of volunteers comprised of friends, Scouts, and adults to make these beautiful improvements for the elementary and middle school students here. He was a 3-time patrol leader, an instructor, and a troop guide. He was also a troop bugler for 4 years. There's a quote very, very relevant to Braxton as far as I'm concerned. It is, "If you're going to live, create a legacy. Make a mark on the world that cannot be erased." In his life, I know that Braxton did just that. As an excellent mentor to others, dedicated citizen serving his community, a great son to Ruth and Mike, and most of all, a true, lasting friend to so many people, including all of us here today. I want to share the words of his other Scoutmasters who confirm Braxton's legacy. Ken Ferguson says, "Braxton was a quiet gentleman. I saw him grow through his high school years into a young adult embodying the Scout law points of friendly, courteous, and kind. The younger Scouts looked up to him, and he was an excellent role model." Thank you, Ken. Phil DeCoco. Braxton was the ultimate silent warrior, which is an award he received for the following reasons. Some people lead from the front, and most shy away from leadership altogether. And then there are leaders like Braxton who quietly observe what's going on, and usually without being asked, jump in and assist. On multiple occasions, I observed Braxton stepping up to assist younger Scouts along the trail to first class, help his fellow peers lead the troop, and handle logistical duties for the troop. Never once complaining about the assignments. These are the type of leaders that quietly go about their day helping others along the way and never brag or ask for recognition. Braxton also had this amazing creative side. Whether we were at summer camp or just working on merit badge requirements, Braxton had a beautiful eye for detail and the ability to capture the small details to make a project stand out. I am very proud to say that I knew Braxton. He was an amazing young man. He will be greatly missed. Thank you, Phil. By Don Cheney. The best word I can use to describe Braxton is friendship. Looking back, that is the essence of his scouting career, as well as outside of scouting. Thinking back on all the activities I shared with Braxton, the common theme is his being surrounded by his fellow Scouts. Whether it was at summer camp, troop meetings, overnight campouts, or annual troop beach parties, I don't recall when he was not hanging out with his friends. His final day on this earth was spent just as he spent his scouting life. He was hanging with his friends and exploring what Mother Nature had to offer. Thank you, Don. Ruth recently told me that Braxton turned in his Eagle application the very last moment so that she wouldn't have to give him a party, and because he never sought attention or praise. However, today we give him the special recognition he deserves after more brief remarks by current Scoutmaster Ken Ferguson and former Scoutmaster Phil DeCoco. Ken and Phil, Ken first, please come forward.
Good afternoon, everybody. Braxton earned his Eagle Scout Award in the troop last fall, but had not yet been awarded. For those not familiar with the Eagle Scout Award, it's the highest youth award of the Boy Scouts of America. It must be completed prior to the age of 18, and normally takes Scouts anywhere from 4 to 7 years to complete it. That is a considerable amount of work in addition to school, sports, family, and other extracurricular activities that can fill up a teenager's time very quickly. The goal of the Scouting program is to assist parents in developing young Scouts into adults by teaching them about citizenship, leadership, self-reliance, and a multitude of life skills. A testament to the local success of this goal is after I sent out an announcement about the accident to a group of parents and former Scouts on Monday, I had a reply back on Tuesday from a former Scout who had already arranged the color guard, planned it with other members, and told me we have it. Once a Scout earns the rank of Eagle, the troop holds a court of honor to award the Eagle Medal and an Eagle Patch. The traditional blue neckerchief with white piping is replaced with one with red piping, indicating a Troop Eagle Scout. The name of every Scout who earns Eagle with Troop 127 is also recorded on a perpetual plaque, and the individual Scout is given a commemorative plaque. Braxton was Troop 127's 151st Eagle Scout and earned the rank on August 29, 2018. In a few minutes, these items will be presented to Braxton's parents. Braxton was an exceptional Scout, and he'll be missed. Thank you, everyone. Phil?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Phil DeCoco, and as a former Scoutmaster, I can say I was really blessed to have worked with Braxton. We had a lot of fun on campouts and working on merit badges and just a lot of great stuff that we do together and helping the kids through the knothole of, the application process and whatnot. The other role that I play for Scouting is I'm the incoming president for the Silicon Valley Monterey Bay Council, and it's in that role that I'm really speaking to you today. I met with the council earlier this week, and we passed a resolution of respect, which I'd like to read to you today for Braxton and his family. It says, Resolution of Respect, where it has pleased our Creator to call his servant Braxton Stuntz home to his final resting place in recognition of his devoted service in Scouting and in our community. Therefore, we, the Silicon Valley Monterey Bay Council, Boy Scouts of America, hereby adopt this resolution of respect and direct his presentation to his family with our sincerest sympathy and gratitude for sharing his life with us. Thank you.
Braxton is not the only one here today that we're recognizing for the mark he has left on this world, as well as his parents. The parents of young men who achieve Eagle play a critical role in their success. Ruth and Mike were awesome in supporting Braxton, and that was a unanimous decision by all of the Scout leaders here. They were transporting him to meetings and outings, accompanying him on hikes and camping adventures, and encouraging him to persevere in the face of challenges. Mike and Ruth will receive the Eagle Scout parent pins for their support of Braxton. There's another award that's included in the Eagle set, and that is a mentor's pin that the Eagle Scout normally presents to an individual who has played the most important role in their Scouting life. From going on a whitewater trip in 2011 to hiking with Braxton on a required 5-mile hike in 2018, plus scores of meetings in between, his dad was there. Mike, on behalf of Braxton and the Boy Scouts of America, the mentor pin will also be presented to you today. Mike and Ruth will now receive all of these items that we've been talking about in Braxton's honor and memory. Ken, Phil, and Don Cheney, please present these items to Ruth and Mike. Also, while they're doing this at this time, I would ask all Eagle Scouts from whatever troop you are to stand and silently welcome Braxton and his spirit into the Brotherhood of Eagles. Please stand if you're an Eagle Scout. Well done, Mike and Ruth. Thank you. You may all be seated. Reverend Ken Pesky, minister of the Church in the Forest, now has opening remarks to share with you. Ken?
I just want to commend each and every one of you for being here. Your presence means a great deal to Mike and to Ruth. The music that's been selected is really eerie. 18 years ago on a Saturday night, I was hosting a group from New Zealand down in Nepenthe, and John Denver and his daughter walked in, and he was talking about how wonderful this new ultralight that he had just received was. And the next day, he took his fatal flight over Pacific Grove, so we never know when tragedy happens. And I pray for all of you who are 20 or younger that you never encounter such a horrific tragedy as we've encountered this past week. When we encounter death, we deal with it in various ways. As a person of faith, I take words from this book, and in the New Testament, Paul, by the inspiration of our Creator, said these words, and the way he penned them, I think, are extremely insightful. Let me tell you a mystery I'll probably never fully understand. In a moment, in the blink of an eye, at the sound of a trumpet, that which is finite will become infinite. That which is mortal will become immortal. O death, where's your sting? O death, where's your victory? But thanks be to God who gives us the victory. And we're here to celebrate the victory that is Braxton's. And I think it's incredible, the message that he gave to us. I may be drowning. I may be out here in this horrific wave, and I want you not to worry about me. I want you to go forward. I want you to be responsible, and I want you to know that I'm all right. Braxton is here. He's whispering to his mother, can you believe how many people are here on a glorious day like today? He's standing next to me and says, enough about me, just shut up and sit down. But before I do, I'm going to pray. So will you join your hearts with mine? God, we come to you today with heavy hearts. Today we come to you to mourn, to weep, and even to hate. We come mourning the loss of Braxton, weeping the loss of someone that we loved, and even hated the sudden death that took him from us. You did not create us to die, but rather you created us to live. Although we weep and mourn today, may you give us the grace to reflect upon the future. Although we are living in a present world of pain, may you give us a glimpse into a future of glory. Although we will not again see the smile of Braxton here on earth, may we be comforted that there is a day coming when we will see him again. May you give us the grace to remember we are only pilgrims today, passing through this world. But in our ultimate home, we will once again be able to talk with, laugh with, and sit in silence with Braxton. We thank you that his life and love of it gives us this hope. I pray your Spirit will come and be with us in this service. I pray that the great Comforter would comfort us at this very difficult time. I pray that the pain that we feel would be abated during this service, and that as Prince of Peace, you would spread your peace to those in attendance today. We ask your blessing over this service. It is in your name we pray. Amen. And now I invite you to stand with me and join with as we sing Bridge Over Troubled Water, and I'm grateful that Annie Shearer has consented to lead us.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side.
when you're on the street. When evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind.
Thank you for coming. It is with astonishment and pride that I stand before so many people that Braxton touched in some way. From my vantage, we were just Mom, Dad, Braxton, and the dog, but now I see that it was us and all of you. Many of you are wondering, naturally, how I am doing. The mothers in the audience especially know the pain is deep and relentless. Friends and family have momentarily eased our pain, and I thank you. My husband is my soulmate and keeps me going. Who was Braxton Stuntz? Everyone wants to know. I knew Braxton to be a wonderful, giving soul. Mandy and Joey said that I should write a parenting manual, but there's no part of the manual, of course, that includes this tragedy. And this time I'm at a loss and can't fix this. I will tell you, though, the secret sauce about Braxton and how he came to be such a beautiful individual in my eyes. Although it's nothing you don't already know. Spend time with your children. Listen and teach. Don't rely on the school to teach your family values. Say what you know. Don't assume they already know everything. They may roll their eyes, but they are listening, and you are laying down the framework for a decent human being. Spend time. Show them the realities of the world, but the beautiful parts too. Don't give your children everything from the moment they can walk. Let them learn how to achieve and be without. Show them how to give to others, not just talk about it. Every year we bought gifts for the Christmas barrel at Starbucks. Braxton was the last of his peers to get a cell phone or a car that he needed for college. Although he was not pleased, I think he understood. He started working as a young child, which taught him how to accomplish on his own 2 feet. He started by making pasta and selling it, selling for the Boy Scouts, working at Stevenson Camp for 2 years, and finally in Mike's office. He even, by his own accord, volunteered at Chomp for 2 years and couldn't wait to go in and would fill in for others. He even had a couple of businesses I was not even aware of until recently. I credit the Boy Scouts of America for his character and the wonderful father that was present in his life every day, every single day, not just the weekends. Verbalize your values, but practice them too. Admit when you're wrong and apologize. Let them hear this. Allow them to fall and pick themselves up. Money alone cannot teach this skill. I often sought the advice of others in this audience about Braxton's shyness. It wasn't until after his death that I finally realized it wasn't shyness at all. It was merely his selfless nature, and he didn't want to be the center of attention, to be the best or be first. He always put others before himself, and at times I would tell them this wasn't a very good idea. Now that I see that I was wrong. Being selfless is a very strong character of which many people simply do not possess. Braxton would help people with their homework and projects before helping himself. I will strive to be more selfless. Braxton did not worry. He did his personal best. He had the philosophical nature of a grown adult. I never saw Braxton angry or resentful or raise his voice. I will strive not to be angry or resentful. Braxton was a giver, not just at holidays, but almost every day. Whenever we traveled, he always brought home tiny gifts for others, such as a bracelet for his favorite tutor, or a keychain for Carson, or something for Imogene. I will strive to give more to others. Braxton loved nature. I taught him to respect the creatures and resources of our planet. Instead of killing a spider, he would gently place it outside. His happiest moments were outside in nature. I will strive to listen to the birds and watch the sunsets more. Braxton was a fine human who would have contributed greatly to the world in my mind. In some ways, on his short time, he has contributed greatly by touching others with simply his everlasting kindness. We have started a Braxton Stuntz Foundation to help in the hospital of Cambodia, where he visited, and educational assistance, which he received and tried to give to his fellow friends and students. Thank you all for caring enough about Braxton to take time out of your day and any contributions you have made. This is indeed a selfless act that you have performed today. Thank you.
It's not time to make a change. Just relax, take it easy. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you have to know. Find a girl, settle down.
As you might expect, my dominant emotion is grief mixed with despair. But what you might not expect is that my next most dominant emotion is gratitude. The outpouring of support during this difficult time has been truly astounding. Thank you all not only for coming to this event, but also thank you for helping Braxton to have such a full and wonderful life. I'm thankful first and foremost for my family and for my wife, Ruth, who you saw has such powerful emotion and mothering skills. She is the love of my life, the perfect mother to my son, and my guiding light. The hardest thing of all about this experience was watching her go through it. I want to thank Stevenson School and Braxton's friends from Stevenson and the greater community throughout the years. Ruth and I have found profound comfort that so many of you have reached out to us to express what a wonderful person Braxton was and how he touched you. He had truly amazing friends. And if you are only on this planet for 18 years, you could not want for better ones. Carson, Brianna, Imogene, Lila, Annie, Grace, Gio, Steve, A-Rod, and Aiden, and many, many others gave him such joy. I also wish to thank his new friends at the University of San Diego, specifically Andrew, Gabe, Randy, Cameron, and Martina. He made friends with a wonderful group of people at USD, and it was clear to me that these friends were on their way to becoming lifelong. I want to thank our medical community, CHOMP and Monterey Peninsula Surgery Center. As you know, Braxton spent most of his childhood coming to the hospital to see me with patients, and in his later years working as a volunteer. We were there so often as a child. Once he even asked me if he was a doctor. I think I told him he was. He also worked in my office during the summer. I cannot express how grateful I am to the wonderful people in my office who took them under his wing and guided him through the experience of learning medicine from the ground up. I am certain he would have made a wonderful physician. But despite not having any credentials at all, he was definitely already a member of our medical community because you let him in. I want to thank the people involved in the activities that helped to shape his life from a young man. These are Boy Scouts, Carmel Youth Baseball, White Stag Leadership Camp, and many other things. Participating together in those activities meant so much to him and to me, and are among the most wonderful memories I have. I want to make a special note to young fathers out there. It is crystal clear to me now that spending as much time as possible with your children is the right path. It can be cut short for any of us at any time, and even if it's not, it is the best way you can ever spend your time. You never know how much you're going to get in with them, and I feel that I have no regrets in that department. Additionally, I would like to thank all those who tried to save him on his last day. The effort to save him seemed to me to be rapid and vigorous and sustained. All aspects of our local first responders and the Coast Guard were present in force and did all they could to find and recover him. I would also like to specifically thank Chris Meckel, who took care of my wife the moment she found out the news until I could be with her. He now knows what it sounds like to have your soul ripped from your body. I heard it over the phone, and I can only imagine what it must have been like for him to see it in person. Thank you, Chris. I would also like to thank Jennifer Garza, who specifically told me not to thank her. She has gone above and beyond in the capacity of organizing this event when we had no capacity whatsoever to do so. Kind words, either spoken, texted, or emailed to me, were also given by many, many people. Dr. Susan Rue, Tom Wilson, Nancy Rubin, and John Cork stand out to me for their clear understanding of our pain and their heartfelt words to help us make sense of it. The friendship from the Garza family, the Ganales family, and the Vieira family, and too many others to specifically name in our time of need has meant an incredible amount to us. Now the hard part for me. Lastly, I would like to thank my son, Braxton. He was a very special boy. I fell in love with him, as many fathers do, when Dr. Gendelman handed it to me once they had assured themselves that he had all of his fingers and all of his toes. Every day after, my love for him has grown. Watching him grow up has been the greatest joy of my life. He had many passions throughout the years. In his early days, he enjoyed baseball, scouting, doing things in the outdoors, and playing with cars. In his high school years, he developed a love for photography, languages, travel, doing things with his friends, and an odd obsession for watching crash test videos. He had a gentle and kind soul, and he always enjoyed doing things that involved helping others. There are many anecdotes that I can think to share, but I settled for one that really sums up my relationship with him. Braxton has accompanied me twice around the world, literally around the world. The first time we left from San Francisco and went to Tokyo, to Shanghai, to Cambodia, and then on to Bangkok, Helsinki, Finland, and finally home. The second time, which was just this past August, we went first to New York, then to Rio de Janeiro, followed by South Africa, on to Australia, Singapore, Cambodia, South Korea, and then home. You will see many of his photographs and images from these places on Instagram, on the internet, on the walls around us, and on a slideshow that will be presented at Rosen. Each trip, we spent nearly a full week at the Children's Surgery Center in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, run by Jim Galogly, Sorab's father. There, Braxton saw poverty and suffering that is omnipresent in the third world. But he also learned about the triumphs of the human spirit. On the first occasion we were there, we walked by 3 young boys sitting on a cardboard mat in the street. Braxton asked Jim Galogly, "Where do these boys live?" To which Jim replied, "They live here. This is their home. They live on the street on that mat. The priests over there feed them." Over the next few days, Braxton continued to ask me about that, and he was profoundly affected by it. I could tell he realized that he had so much, and they had nothing. When we left and came home, he pestered me all of last year to go back. So we did. His love for that place and how he reacted inspired the beginning of the foundation that Bruce told you about. On the final leg of our first trip around the world, we stopped in Helsinki, Finland. While touring the city, we ran into a woman who lost consciousness directly in front of us. Braxton caught her before she actually could hit the ground and gently laid her on the sidewalk, and then looked at me and said, "You're the doctor." It turned out she was having a very severe drug overdose. Several people around her began helping, including Braxton and I, but the police could not be located. Braxton, at one point, grabbed my shoulder and said, "I will be right back. I will get the police," in a country where he did not know the language, had never been, and I had specifically told him not to leave my sight. Before I could stop him, he left to do what needed to be done. Within minutes, I was starting to worry, and just when I was feeling that panicked feeling that parents get when their children are out of their sight for too long, I looked up, and there he was, leading a police van and a whole procession of first responders down the alleyway to our position. The young woman was able to get the immediate help she needed quickly because of this act. True to his shy and humble nature, afterwards he specifically told me never to tell the story. I cannot find meaning in his death, but I can find meaning and inspiration from his life. To the young people in the audience that are clearly suffering from his loss, please know that Braxton will be kept in your hearts now and through your actions. If you are touched in a positive way by Braxton, you need to promise yourself and promise me that you will live your life well and overcome hardships that you face. Because Braxton is only alive through you and your actions. And so you need to be strong for him. I know some of his closest friends are deeply hurting right now. Braxton would tell you that you need to pick up the pieces and move forward with a joyful and wonderful life. Braxton has given you all the help he can. He will give you no more. But he is counting on you to finish the job. To further the causes Braxton was most passionate about, we have set up a GoFundMe page to establish a foundation in his name. Specifically, most of the funding will initially go to the Children's Surgical Center in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, that he was so passionate about. Additionally, we hope to have enough funds to begin to establish educational grants in his name for deserving local students Boy Scouts, photographers, and hopefully this will last for years to come. The second way that I have thought that we may be able to find meaning in his death is to perhaps improve the cell service along the Big Sur coast. Engaging the emergency services quickly is the only way to save someone who falls into treacherous surf. There may be many political, economic, environmental, and regulatory issues involved, but this needs to be changed. The minutes wasted trying to find a phone that works or getting your phone to work and realizing it doesn't have service can be the difference between life and death. If we can reduce the number of surf-related deaths along our beautiful coast, we absolutely must. I will be engaging our local, state, and national leaders to try to make this happen. Please join the effort when you see it develop. Finally, words cannot express how much I will miss my son, but the love and support that all of you have shown Ruth and I in our time of need has convinced me that we will make it through. Thank you.
Coaching with you, Mike. I remember Braxton, during the whole baseball season, said 2 words, and that was it. That was all. The vivid memory I have of Braxton during that time with you, Mike, is he always had his eyes on you. He was always looking for you. And after each game, he always found you. He loved you both so deeply. On behalf of Braxton, I invite us all right now to take a moment of silence and remember that smile, your experiences with Braxton. Please join me. Braxton is among us. He is with us. Don't hold back your memories. Share them. Write them down. Email them to friends. Send a note card to the parents. Let Braxton's memory continue to pervade us throughout the days and the weeks to come. Henry Nouwen writes, every time we make the decision to love someone, we open ourselves to great suffering because those we most love cause us not only the great joy, but also great pain. The greatest pain comes from leaving. When the child leaves home, when the friend departs for another country, when a beloved friend departs and dies. The pain of the leaving can tear us apart. Still, if we want to avoid the suffering of leaving, we will never experience the joy of loving. And love is stronger than fear. Life stronger than death. Hope stronger than despair. And we have to trust that the risk of loving is always, always worth taking. So on behalf of Braxton, may we find somebody today and tell them how much we love them. Don't waste a moment. Go find someone who needs a hug. Don't hold back on your emotions, your tears, your laughter. On behalf of Braxton, laugh, smile. And when Braxton smiled, like a blazing star. Thank you.
Braxton and my son Jimmy made movies together in middle school. From a short film about a time travel paradox to a boy learning to break out of his shell by dreaming that he was a fly, Braxton and Jimmy spent weekends creating. Even then, I could see that Braxton knew something about creating images. I first realized that Braxton had a special talent with cameras when my son showed me drone images Braxton shot of sea lions on the Pacific Grove coast. They were stunningly beautiful. As I better understood his talent, I urged him to consider taking photography courses in college. I told Ruth once that he had the ability to make a career out of photography. At that time, I did not know that his photos had been used by major publications like Time Out and Outside Magazine. It is typical of Braxton that neither Ruth nor Mike knew of these professional photography credits. A famed filmmaker once said, "I point my camera at the story." We can see Braxton's story in the moments he chose to preserve. A lone canoe on a waveless lake, flowers in bloom in an endless field, glowing smoke trailing off a fireworks fuse. For parents, it can often seem that our kids are majoring in irony with a minor in sarcasm. But Braxton's images tell a different story. He titled one of his videos simply, "Soothing Shots." He used his camera to embrace aesthetic beauty, embrace calmness, and for lack of a better term, a spiritual aspect that was very earthbound. He didn't make frantic pictures or videos. He didn't make images or videos that mocked or denigrated. His images resonate because they so often embrace what we all seek, a sense of peace and a sense of being at one with this amazing planet where we live. When the seniors graduated last year, I hoped I would keep in touch with Braxton because I knew he was going to be someone special. But after the events of this week, I realized I will keep in touch with Braxton. He will be with me, and I hope with all of us, when we look out and see a spectacular view, when we see the beauty of nature, when we feel the wind in our face, when we hear quiet laughter like his. He will be with us on every morning hike. We will see him in the studious, determined eyes of our doctors. We will see him in the images he left that move us. We all know Braxton. We will always know Braxton. And I hope each of us will keep a piece of him alive inside of us as we carry on. Ruth, Mike, you raised a remarkable boy. We are forever grateful that you shared him with us.
Ruth told me she will never recover from this. I will never recover either, Ruth. No one will here, ever. I want to recognize that the cavity of sorrow Mike and Ruth carry will never be filled. To lose a child is the greatest loss of one's life. How do I do this? What do I say to you? How do I speak to you all at this moment? How do I articulate what I feel, what we all feel? The anger, the grief, the shock. He left too soon. It's not fair. I did not get another chance to tell him I loved him, how much we all love him. I want to tell him. Braxton was everything this community hopes us all to be. He embodied it. He lived in each moment with love and wonder and delight and commitment and enduring faith to all of us. He took such good care of his friends. All through school, Braxton paid close attention to how his friends learned, what worked for them and what didn't. He advocated for those who needed advocacy, and he did something to make their lives just a little bit better the next day than it had been the day before. He was the boy who, in 4th grade, made sure Mrs. Barrow adjusted the spelling tests ever so slightly to ensure everyone in the class felt smart enough, felt valued, felt like they belonged there on that day, taking a stupid spelling test in 4th grade. Out of all the middle school kids, Braxton was the favorite of all the little ones. The kindergarten kids would see him and scream his name out, shrieking and jumping up and down when he would wave at them. He made those little kids feel so loved. There were so many days when I would see Braxton walking down the hall with one of those little tiny kids, hand in hand. The kindergartner would be talking a million miles an hour, and Braxton would be nodding and smiling, fully engaged in the moment with that particular child. He made people feel seen, made them feel like they were the center of his universe. Halloween was one of Braxton's favorite holidays. There were several years in a row that Braxton would arrive to school on Halloween morning dressed in full drag. He was a stunning woman, actually. The most entertaining element was watching him run across the campus in his high heels and long dress. I cannot think of a day when Braxton came to school all those years and he wasn't sincerely happy to be there. Goofy, always giggling with Gio or Jimmy about some moment, some middle school boy antic. Braxton stepped into the world, into the experiences brought before him with a jovial sense of wonder and focus. Watching he and his friends build a fort down at Ben Lomond, or moments scrambling off the bus, or the time he dressed as the jester for the 8th grade Renaissance lunch, and he stayed as the jester the entire school day. Braxton was humble, unassuming, quietly delighted with the moment before him, always seeing the details around him, always. He died too soon. His departure from us is tragic and it's unfair. And what we have left is what he left us. And there is so much he has left us. He taught us how to find delight in the mundane, in turning his pencil case in middle school into a toy box filled with Matchbox cars and magnetic toys. He taught us that beauty surrounds us. His photography captures this exceptional gift. And how he lived his life did too. Each day there was something to discover, something to learn, something to delight in. I believe people like Braxton come into our lives to remind us who we can be and to steady us in the faith that truly good people surround us. He was such a good person. His time on this earth with us was sacred. He gave us all the courage to live the life we hope to live, to seek kindness, to play, to wonder, and to love. He was our hero. He was our constant, our faith in what is true and good in this world. May we each hold his honor in our hearts, in how we choose to live our sacred days left on this earth. May we emulate Braxton's best self, the care, the joy, the play, the dedication to others and the world around him. May we celebrate him and the glorious life he brought to us all. And may we never recover in choosing to live a life that keeps Braxton and all that he embodied at the center of our every moment. Will the following people please join me on the stage? Imogene Johnson, Aidan Vanderbilt, Annie Scher, Carson Bertie, Grace Wagner, Lilla Pendleton, Steve Pintar, Giovanni Rito, Jimmy Cork, Gabrielle Velasquez, Andrew Katz, Cameron Smith, Martina Pagnani, and Randy Reyes.
Good afternoon. My name is Imogene, and I'm honored to be able to say a few words about my dear friend Braxton. We met at a young age in a tiny kindergarten classroom, and after 13 years of school and friendship, we got to graduate together last spring. Braxton remains one of the most hardworking, selfless, and intuitive people I've ever known, not to mention his wonderful sense of humor and artistic passions. Like most high school seniors, Braxton and I spent the majority of last year filling out college applications. We wrote and edited nearly every single one together over the span of 5 months. And now, whenever I pass by Panera, the Pacific Grove Starbucks, or Denny's, I'm reminded of the late nights and the long hours we spent there together. College apps are supposed to be one of the most stressful parts of the high school experience, but Braxton made it naturally memorable and fun. He put just as much effort into helping me as he did his own, given his selfless nature. Sure, we shared our fears about the future, but we spent far more time laughing than anything else. Almost every place I go on this peninsula has a memory of Braxton attached to it. Beautiful things like sunsets or breathtaking views were simply attracted to Braxton. And despite growing up here myself, Braxton was the one who really showed me this place. Not every time we hung out was an adventure, but it felt like it. Other days would be filled with errands, and on rare occasions where we had nothing to do, or maybe it had just gotten so late that everything else was closed, we'd sit in my car, which was usually parked in our regular meeting spot in the Yamasushi parking lot, and we'd talk, and we'd laugh, and we'd listen. I've never experienced that kind of connection on a human level with anyone other than Braxton. I felt a mutual understanding, and absolute permission to always be myself. And what I'm realizing is that I was so far from alone in this. Braxton connected with people on a different level and bettered everyone around him. Every single one of us was impacted by him for the better, and that is something we can never forget. Finally, I'd like to express my most sincere gratitude to Braxton for the last 14 years of friendship that mean more to me than any words could ever try and explain. Annie Shearer.
I first met Braxton when I was 14, and I just moved 130 miles away from home. We had Spanish 2 honors together, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it was the hardest class I've ever taken, but to Braxton it was nothing. It was a piece of cake. I struggled through it for the first trimester, and our teacher suggested I drop down to the lower level, and I would have agreed with her if Braxton hadn't insisted I stay. He saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself, and he pushed me every day in that class. By the time we were juniors in Spanish together, we aptly called him El Diccionario, or the dictionary, as he would come up with words that even our teacher couldn't remember. As our friendship grew outside of the classroom, I began to see another wonderful side to him, which was an adventurous boy who saw so much beauty in the world around him and wanted to capture it. Every weekend brought on a new experience: an abandoned hospital, Carmel Beach, a deserted playground, 17-mile drive, 4-door, Swank Farms, and of course, Big Sur. He taught me the beauty of the Central Coast, and I will never forget that. But the greatest gift he gave to me and everyone else around him was his unconditional kindness and selflessness. He never made me feel stupid when I could barely form a sentence in Spanish and he was speaking fluently. He was always taking pictures of me and our friends, but refused to have pictures taken of himself. He could be having the worst day and still manage to be worried about the people around him. These small moments in no way fully encapsulate the goodness of his soul, but those who knew him understand that he was one of a kind. Mike, I promise to live for him. And Braxton, I love you. Thank you for everything you taught me, and you will never be forgotten.
Carson Birdie.
Hello, my name's Carson, if you guys don't know me. I went to Stevenson 8th grade till sophomore year, and coming to a new school really sucks, especially 8th grade, but Braxton made it a lot easier for me. I became friends with Braxton over playing Minecraft until 2 a.m. on Skype every night. At the start of high school, I was luckily had the same classes with Braxton. If you knew me during school, it would usually be me following around Braxton to class and lunch and back to class. Braxton was a huge explorer and would sometimes meet me on the weekend with a place he found on Google Maps the night before, and we would just go explore it. I totally wouldn't have gotten out of the house as much if it wasn't for Braxton. He was my best friend, and he was very quiet, but he kept his ideas to himself, and that's just the type of person he was. Throughout high school, I would go with him and Imogene almost every weekend to the Yamasushi parking lot, where we would just talk for hours sometimes about our problems and our school and what we seemed interesting. Eventually, Imogene, Rihanna, Braxton, and I had a group chat we named Crib from the first letters of our name, Carson, Rihanna, Imogene, Braxton. There wasn't a day that went by that we all weren't actively texting each other. Last Christmas, Braxton got us each custom t-shirts that read Crib in a clean, pleasing font that he would wear. I received it a few days ago, but it's definitely the type of gift Braxton would get, something personal to their relationship with him. I, on the other hand, got him a t-shirt that he already owned, and to make matters worse, Imogene got, unknowingly, the same t-shirt. I guess we knew him a little too well. Braxton was the most relatable and fun person I've ever been around. With his countless inside jokes and similar tastes in music and art and memes, Braxton seriously helped me get through a ton of tough times in school and with girls sometimes. One of the last times I saw Braxton, he drove up from San Diego to LA to hang out with me for a day. It was really good to have a friend like Braxton. He really means a lot to me. He never got on anyone's bad side and was a complete blessing to have in my life. I will never know someone as wonderful and as happy as Braxton was and how he made me feel. Thank you.
Grace Wagner.
I so badly want to say what's best. I wish I could compile all my thoughts and feelings and memories so that I can share with you the Braxton that I was so grateful to have known. But it's impossible to convey who he was in words. When something tragic like this happens, you immediately think of the amazing qualities you admired in that person, while overlooking perhaps the more unflattering aspects of their character. But this isn't the case with Braxton, because every day of his life was a reminder to us all of just how incredible he was. Had you asked me 2 weeks ago, a year ago, 8 years ago, what I thought of him, I would have the same words to share that I do now, words that I'm sure you've heard from many people before. I always used to ask Braxton what he wanted to do when he grew up because I couldn't possibly imagine what a mind like his was built for. He was an artist, a photographer, architect, doctor, Spanish speaker. Braxton lived passionately. He was talented at these things not simply by nature, but because he fully invested himself in life. He made me want to live more, and even just by knowing him, I felt more lively. Most importantly, though, Braxton invested himself in those around him, including all of these people standing up here today, and many more. In middle school, I considered him one of my closest friends. As we aged, our close touch was partially lost, but never did I feel like we strayed too far away from each other that we lost touch completely. In fact, Braxton always reminded me that I was important to him. And even from a bit of distance, I still watched in awe of everything he was. Braxton never forgot about me, and I never and will never let go of how he shaped me. The way I felt with Braxton became the highest standard to which I look for in all people. Again, it seems phony that I can go on and on about how amazing this boy was, but in fact, never has someone so often made me stop and appreciate the person in front of me other than him. It seems strange because I've never even been to a funeral before. And now here I am speaking about one of the most important people of my young life in past tense. The hardest laughs and most genuine moments of happiness I ever shared were with Braxton. And while I certainly wasn't the closest to him of all his friends here today, I so wish I could tell him that he was one of the closest to me, because I never did fully express that to him. So while I missed the chance with him, I now hope I can share that with Mr. and Mrs. Stuntz and thank them for his life.
Lila Pendleton.
Hello, I'm Lila Pendleton. I was friends with Braxton for these past 3 years, and these past years, almost every happy, wild memory I have has something to do with Braxton. Public speaking is my biggest fear by far, but Braxton was someone who always made me face my fears. Whether it was trying new food or scaling down the cliff at Hurricane Point so he could get a picture of me overlooking the coast at sunset. And when you look up his name on Google Images, the first picture that comes up is that picture of me. And as much as I hated climbing down that mountain and getting covered in dirt and drenched in sweat, I couldn't help but smile in the picture because the view was so beautiful, and I couldn't help but smile when I was around him. Sometimes even the most mundane activities like sitting in the Del Monte Shopping Center parking lot for 2 hours talking about nonsense and playing my music for him that he hated more than anything. It gave me so many memories that I will remember for the rest of my life because of the happiness and the love he made me feel no matter what he was doing. I have endless stories and adventures with Braxton that I could go on and on about, but bottom line is he made this relatively boring town in my eyes so interesting and beautiful. And I feel beyond lucky to have been in his life, let alone a subject of his artwork. And I will cherish the pictures that he took of me for the rest of my life. And until I see him again, not a day will go by where I don't think about him. And the last thing that I said to him was that I loved him and I missed him. And I always will, as you all will too. And losing Braxton is by far the biggest loss I've experienced so far in life. But having known him, I gained so much. And every day this past week, I've just kind of said thank you. And I don't know to who. I'm not religious. I don't believe in a higher power. But I just keep saying thank you. Thank you to his parents. And thank you to his friends and everybody that I met because of him. I wouldn't know most of you if it wasn't for him. And I feel so lucky to have been in his life. And I will always be thankful for him and the people that I've met now because of him. And all of the adventures that I will never forget. Thank you.
Steve Pintar.
Braxton was my go-to guy. He was there for me at all times, and I had the pleasure to grow up with him. Braxton was my brother. We became close for the mutual love for adventures and photography. We would travel to cool places and attempt to capture our moment there. Throughout those times, I feel as if he taught me so much about the world and everything in it. And more importantly, Braxton showed me to look beyond the little things in life and focus on the bigger picture. His friendship goes beyond anything imaginable. Furthermore, I know Braxton shaped me into a better person, and I assume you all as well. There are so many lessons to be learned from this man, and I believe that his message to do good will stand with all of us forever. Thank you.
Andrew Katz.
Over the past 4 months at USD, I've become a very close friend to Braxton. Luckily for our friend group, Braxton was in the same building as us, and he opened his dorms to us, and we would always go to his room to hang out. I was very fortunate that he lived so close to me, and I'm going to miss every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3:20, where I would knock on his door before Spanish, and he'll let me in. He would listen to me complain about my teacher, and he would always help me study for any upcoming exams. Whenever I had a problem or I just needed someone to be there for me, I could always walk 10 steps down the hall, and he would always let me in. I never knew how much of an impact he had on my life until now. Cameron, Martina, and Braxton had a close relationship because they were all science majors. They were each other's support systems through the horrible 8 a.m.s and the late-night study sessions. They always helped him with chem, and he always helped him with the bio, and whenever the girls were sad, Braxton would be there to put a smile on their faces. Every day they went to Aromas, the little coffee shop we had on campus, and he would order a non-fat vanilla latte and cinnamon roll to the point where the people working there would remember his order. Randy always said how Braxton was obsessed with the color white, as his entire bedding was white and white only, and his favorite shirts were all white, and of course those white shirts were the only ones he would hang in his closet, and all the other colored shirts were folded since they didn't matter as much. Some of the things Randy learned about Braxton was that he absolutely loved his Coke Zero and his iced tea. Randy remembers getting in a debate with Braxton about how he should drink more water and less Coke Zero. However, Braxton quickly refuted to Randy by saying that Coke Zero is actually 9% water. Gabe first met Braxton during his first few days at USD, and he knew immediately that Braxton was going to be an incredible friend. Braxton was so compassionate and helped whenever he could. Braxton was always there when you needed him, like when Gabe was stuck and needed to be picked up at the train station, or when he needed someone to talk to. Braxton did these things because he loved to help everyone. He knew how to bring people together. He had a certain quality that people were attracted to and allowed him to create unique bonds with his friends. I'll always remember our Target runs, and we went at least once a week, and how we only needed one thing and we ended up with an entire cart full of items. Or how Braxton would specifically go because he wanted San Pellegrinos because he absolutely loved them. We all loved driving around with Braxton because we would always sing and dance in the car, and he would make a long drive fun, even if it was 5 hours in traffic to Universal Studios. I'm going to miss all the little things that put a smile on my face, like washing our clothes on Sunday nights, to the silent times in his room with Martina, and we would just stare at each other until one of us laughed, and even the times where we would joke around about how he was always the first one done with his food. Because of him, I have tried many new things that I would never imagine doing and opened up my life to new experiences. I've become more outgoing because of him, and I gained the courage to achieve all my goals. We all have found a new drive to achieve more for Braxton, and I always told him he was like a brother to me, and I meant it. Our friend group, Grambic, was family, and we loved him so much. Thank you, Braxton, for showing us the world through your photos, for teaching us to be a kind and caring person like yourself, for being there for us at any time for just about anything, and most importantly, being our friend. Braxton, we're going to miss you so much, and even though we knew you for only 4 months, it felt like years. You were loved by so many people, and this isn't a goodbye. It's until next time. We love you, Braxton, and rest easy.
Honorable Larry Hayes.
All right, would the leader of the color guard please advance, can she?
Color guard attention. Audience, please rise for the retirement of the colors. Color guard, march forward. Color guard, halt. Color guard, prepare to retrieve the colors. Retrieve the colors, group salute. Color guard, prepare to advance. Color guard, advance. 2, color guard at ease. Audience may be seated.
We're going to give Mike and Ruth a chance to get over to Douglas Hall, and I know all of you will join them. I don't know about you, but I certainly have been humbled and overwhelmed and inspired by what we have encountered this afternoon in this place. From Mike and Ruth's incredible honesty, and you know, I can just see that her echoing Lady Gaga's words about until it happens to you. But I want you to join me in thanking these young people who did an incredible, incredible job of honoring not only Braxton but themselves. And in spite of Lila being a little fearful of public speaking, she could probably stand in this place on Sunday morning, although she has different faith convictions. But we'll still honor her. So let's celebrate her. Thank you so much. Thank you again for being here. You can remain and listen to A Bridge Over Troubled Water or enjoy just the serenity of this place, or please make your way over to Douglas Hall, and please give Ruth and Mike a hug and these young people as well. You are dismissed. Thank you. Thanks, Lila. I hope I didn't embarrass you.